Well, it's been over a year since I made my last ranking video. The video was a disaster. I'm not gonna get into why. Fast forward to 2025, and there were over 140 clones that I was able to find. 6 of them I've decided to omit because I can't fairly rank them. My opinion has changed on a few of the clones, which appeared in the last ranking video, and we'll go over those when we get there. Here's what constitutes a CoD Zombies clone. If it is stated that it is intended to be a CoD Zombies clone, or fan game, or clearly based on CoD Zombies, or plays extremely similarly to CoD Zombies, it will be counted in the tier list. And just so we're clear, just because it doesn't call itself a CoD Zombies clone, doesn't absolve it from being considered one. I'm also not including custom maps, which is any place that was created on an engine not developed by the placeholder, unless the place is a conglomerate of different maps. I consider it a clone if it has these things. Here's our tiers, which are represented by a custom map of the same quality. Before I get into the video, here's what I look for in a game. And of course the basic fundamentals, such as these. Keep in mind some rankings are affected by varying development cycles, such as these. And here are some keywords I will be referring to for the video. Anyways, I've wasted enough time. Let's get into the rankings. Starting with the U tier. U for unplayable. Represented by the map OGZ Minecraft. It's a map that is sloppy, ugly, and glitchy. A U tier game hardly even functions as a game, and shouldn't serve as anything more than a tech demo. I'm going to try to be as polite as possible when talking about these games, because behind these games are developers with real feelings and emotions, and negativity just brings the morale down. Anyways, Michael Zombies is the worst game I've ever played. No wait, that's a different list. If it's any reconciliation that this is at the bottom of the list, just know that this game was good enough for it to even be included in the tier list, because there are some seriously underwhelming games that could be included that I chose not to because they're hardly even games. With that said, Undead Siege is the package full of fullness. It claims to have a Pack-Punch Easter egg, but good luck finding it when the game is plagued with so many issues. There's no wallop pins, a knife that doesn't work, glitchy prompts, and failure to prevent the player from going out of bounds. Zombies don't even give you points for killing them, only shooting them. You know, it's one thing for zombies to only give points when you kill them, but it's another thing when it's the inverse. They couldn't even be bothered to fix zombies going on the roof. Also, a common theme with these games is they like to use Nocturne and Toad as their map, so we're gonna have a counter for it every time it appears. Normally I wouldn't include games that are this unfinished, but they're pretty much asking for it when they've already put this much effort into the description. Sadly, this isn't even the worst example of this. It's a shame the actual map is good because I would say functionally the game is not great. But that's because the game isn't functional at all. I mean, you can never get your ammo back, you can't knife the zombies, there's no wall pins, and even if you manage to get enough points for the box, the weapons the box gives you don't give you points for killing zombies, so you just come back around to having no points again. Imagine that, but with zombies that just move to you, that are somehow still extremely deadly because they practically insta-kill you. And did I mention the starting weapon is a completely different weapon system from all the box weapons? And not only that, but one that's not in the toolbox? I'd argue this game is even less playable than the one we just went over, but I'm giving it the edge just because the atmosphere is good. This game actually inspired the U tier because it is considerably worse than anything in T tier. There's not even a wave system in this game. Zombies will pretty much spawn endlessly. I'm not saying time gameplay has never existed for CoD Zombies, or even that it's bad. I'm more so willing to bet the system only exists because whoever made this game couldn't even be bothered to add a proper wave system. And that's somehow not even the worst part. Looking at the gameplay, you'll notice there's not even an economy. Whoever made this game figured out how to not only use billboard UIs for the zombies, but also have them be animated, but they couldn't even add a point system? Why not? Even I had a point system for my shitty zombie game from 2018. You unlock new items by taking the cheese and putting it at an altar. And I haven't even mentioned that this game not only uses straight up free models for its guns, but also the worst ones possible. and I can't tell what pathfinding method these zombies use. It's like sometimes they want to be stuck, but other times they want to actually try finding the player. I actually think this game has some charm. It's so bad that it's ironically enjoyable. This game almost feels like a shitpost, and saying that feels rude knowing that it is not. You have a point system, but hardly anything costs money. Doors are opened as waves progress, and guns are free. The guns, which are pretty much just random free models. Seriously, there was like 5 different gun systems, and a gravity gun for whatever reason. Not to mention the zombies they used. Listen, I'm not an Arthur hater, and I don't believe that Arthur is just not Roblox or whatever the bullshit consensus is nowadays. But it doesn't help this game's case the zombie models they chose. Because this feels exceptionally amateurish and out of place. We're playing zombies, not a fucking social hangout. And it's not like the AI is particularly good either. It just feels like there's no danger in being inside the map, when the zombies barely know how to make their way towards you. I get that it was the creator's first game with a working wave system, but you can't tell me the developer played this and thought it was even the slightest bit of fun, and they weren't also under the age of 13 when they made this. Also, the thumbnail is gold. This game might have had a chance to be in the next tier, as if that makes it any better, if it wasn't for the fact that zombies literally kill each other. I'm serious. If you're having a hard time fighting zombies, it's because they die before they even get inside the house. I can't even give a fair criticism of this game, because this issue was enough for me to put this game in this tier. And the constantly shooting and exploding turrets doesn't help either. And I'm gonna be honest, Happy Home in Robloxia is such a lame setting for a zombies game. I would know because I have a game that takes place in it, and it's a garbage game. I think most people would be put off by the 100-second long intro of just the characters talking, but it's really a warning to tell you not to play this game. It's one thing for debris to not activate any zombie spawns, and it's another thing for debris to be automatically open as the waves progress so that more zombie spawns will be activated. But it's an entirely different thing for zombie spawns to activate behind debris that hasn't even been opened yet. I will cut them some slack for the fact that it's pretty much not possible to shoot zombies through barriers without any issue, because stuff like that can happen if you don't understand how your gun script works. But I won't excuse the fact that so little effort was put into weapon variety, especially considering how little effort was put into the guns that already exist. And the zombie just moved 2 towards you. With a map as complex as this, come on. And what really makes this game unplayable is what happens at wave 5. The zombies pretty much match your speed, and there's no real way to outrun them besides running past walls. Also, since Kino seems to be another map that gets copied to death, why not have a counter for it also? We might be moving on to the next tier, but that doesn't mean the games are getting any good. T for Travesty, represented by the map Nintendo 1516. A floating dirt plot with random buildings thrown onto random areas. A T-tier game is either extremely messy or full of glitches and terrible mechanics. I have no good things to say about this game. It's ugly, it's glitchy, it's slow, and it's sloppy. You could never get past round 10, not because the game is hard, or because the zombies pop in and out of existence, but because the zombies just decide they want to stop spawning or fuck off out of bounds elsewhere. Let's not forget the god-awful gun system in this game, along with many other shooters from its time uses. The hit detection is awful, the movement is clunky, and the zombies turning invisible or leaving their eye effects everywhere is probably attributed to the way this gun script handles damage. This game crawled so Call of Duty Blocks at War could walk. I didn't even know this game was functional until my 3rd playthrough, where I found out you're supposed to actually pick up a pistol instead of it just being given to you. But this isn't actually a bad feature. In fact, there's not really any bad features in this game. It's just they're all executed horrendously. You can tell the gun system is completely in-house, which is impressive no matter what, but if it's not good, it's not good. However much your latency is how long it will take for the gun to respond to your inputs. And also, there's a weird glitch with aiming that gives your character a speed boost that stacks every time you perform the glitch. It's like they decided midway through that they don't want the player to slow down when they're aiming, so when they went through the process of removing the feature, they forgot to change the line of code that gives you back your original speed. The map design is interesting to say the least. It's like a set of buildings that have almost nothing inside of them. The zombies are not very smart either. It's another game where zombies move towards you. I actually find it quite insulting that this game has the audacity to call itself yet another CoD Zombies game when it's just devoid of anything fun or interesting. Get this, there are 2 guns, no doors, no pathfinding, and best of all, knocked, der, and toten. Add 1 to the counter. There's not even a real wave system, and to call this timed gameplay is lying. But at least they have this viewport model of my character. I'm just kidding, of course, this looks tacky and out of place. Get ready for this. You can hide in closets. I'm serious when I say this. This could actually be a useful tool for when things get too hectic. The problem is, this game boils down to knowing exactly where zombies spawn. And if not, evading them is extremely easy. And if you're not good at evading them, just know that they do like no damage towards you. There are 2 weapons to choose from, an AK and a Tommy gun. If you even want to play this game for that long. Because get this, you don't even get points from zombies. Like, at all. You have to complete a round for a measly 100 points. It's like whoever made this game saw build to survive the zombies and thought only getting points from surviving rounds and not from killing zombies was a good aspect of that game. At least that game gave you a standard total to build with while you wait for half an hour for zombies to respawn.
Mario!
In this game, you do one thing only, and that's kill zombies. And due to the nature of this game, even that gets extremely repetitive. There is a 15,000 point door. You know how many points you're getting per zombie? 75. Yeah, it's one of many ACS games that only give you points for kills, not both kills and hits. And there's no difference between buying a gun and buying ammo for a gun, so you're pretty much burning all of the points you just got from killing zombies just so you can maybe get enough points to buy ammo again. This wouldn't even be a problem if the game had power-ups, but they couldn't even figure that out. This game doesn't even have perks for that matter. I know it's knocked or toten, so you could maybe get away with saying that's why there's no perks, but 1, add that to the counter, and 2, I think that's just an excuse to not have to figure out how to implement perks into your game. That, or the developer of this game hates fun. Because good lord, this game is not fun. You know why it's hard to train in this game? Because the zombies like to build walls and block you from going anywhere without getting damaged. And that wouldn't be a problem if this game didn't use the default health regeneration system. Meaning, if you get hit, you have to wait 30 to 40 seconds to get back to full health, with zombies that damage you for touching them, rather than them being close enough for a long enough time. And to add insult to injury, this is what it looks like when you get low on health. At the time of me writing this game literally started development 12 days ago, and its most recent update was 6 days ago. That being said, I'm sure that 6 days of work would lead to a lot more than just this. I mean, you have zombies that don't seem to be very smart, a decent at best gun script but hardly any effort was put into the actual guns, wall weapons whose designs are lazy, and a box that gives you guns you already have, with no way to remove weapons that you don't want. I will say I do like when games have multiple types of zombies, but the zombies just kind of appear on the map. No indication of where they spawn, just at 4 arbitrarily placed points. And honestly, the game starts off really slow, but I notice the zombie spawns are super fast as the rounds progress, which I like to see. But it's another game where zombies don't give you points for shooting them, and another game that thinks Crossroads is a good zombies map. This looks like a recreation of Nocturne and Toten from memory. And I'm pretty sure this is when you can still put in whatever sounds you want into your game, which is why all guns are silent. Obviously the gun system itself is extremely dated. I think what really makes this game annoying to play is the zombie AI, which makes sense because pretty much nobody had pathfinding back then. And while we're here, why not talk about the sequel? It's basically the same game, just in a different setting that is very obviously not knocked and a like to dislike ratio that is somehow negative. I bet some people want to make the excuse that, oh, this is a very old game, so you shouldn't expect much. Well, here's a video of an advanced ghost system from 2008. And you're telling me people couldn't figure out how to give players points for killing zombies? In both games, you have to wait to get paid. Listen, no amount of playing Build to Survive the Zombies should convince you that being encouraged to but not getting rewarded for killing zombies is fine. I actually think this would be a fine game if the zombies knew how to get inside the house. Instead, it just feels like they're playing peekaboo with me. There's not much else to say other than this is another one of those games that doesn't give you points for shooting zombies. And one of 2 games to have ever used this stunted ray gun. The weapons are all crudely made and not satisfying to use at all. Speaking of crudely made weapons, here's a game where weapons are really fucking loud for no reason at all. Listen, I understand that guns being loud is realistic, but you better pray to God that your game is good before you put any realistic elements into it. Also, if there was a tier list for free model zombies, the one this game uses would be near the bottom. Because they're practically an insta-kill when you touch them, but they're actually worse than Move 2. It's like they sort of know how to pathfind, but it seems like every game they're in, they always get stuck in places. I am impressed with how many perks and map elements are in this game. It's just such a shame you barely get any points for killing zombies, let alone points at all for shooting them. This game actually gave me a headache when I played it. I can't really think of any upsides for Zombie Apocalypse Remake, apart from using R15, which is better than R6. It tried to go for a different aesthetic than the original, at the cost of looking like every zombie game nowadays. Sometimes killing zombies doesn't give points, and the game has an identity crisis and doesn't know when it wants to use classic meshes or modern meshes for weapons. Also, good fucking lord, this game is unplayable. I can't play this game without having to constantly watch my back for zombies that happen to get stuck behind walls because zombies don't know how to pathfind in this game. Oh, just use the radar. Well, that's easier said than done when it's displayed in a fixed angle rather than relative to where the player is facing. It doesn't help that zombies pretty much insta-kill you, and most of them are faster than you. I understand that some games want to be difficult, but if the game's not good, I'm not going to bother trying to get good at it. Dead Alive. At least it's not a fuck-ass undead coming clone that got 1 million visits somehow. I can't be too sure if this is an original weapon script. Either way, it's really amateurish. All weapons are fully automatic and fire infinitely. Considering the developer is responsible for half of the projects in U tier, I can't tell if the developer wanted it to be like that, or they couldn't be bothered to add an ammo system. The map selection isn't impressive, and some of them are outright unfinished. I'm not saying releasing a map unfinished is wrong. The problem is when you don't at least try to hide that they're unfinished by limiting the areas in which the player can access. And guess what? Add one to the counter. This map is beyond unfinished. They might as well have released it when it was still an idea. I've been following Call of Duty Blocks at War's development since 2022, and it's still riddled with issues that detract from the experience. And for some reason, this game was significant enough for it to have been mentioned under my evolution video. Let's start off with what the game did well. First of all, they nailed the visuals. The maps generally look good with decent atmosphere, and the layouts aren't half bad either. That's about all the good I can say for this game. Now let's look at what they could do better. First off, the weapons. These weapons are beyond glitchy. Some of them make you run faster than normal, some of them just visually bug out, none of them have penetration, and they're ACS. Not to mention most of them have icons that don't look consistent with each other. Secondly, the zombies. They only give you points per kill, not points per hit. The zombies AI is also kinda busted, but to its credit, zombies can path towards players. Thirdly, very rarely will you see buyable debris, and all of them lead to new rooms with no zombie spawns. I'm assuming this is because the scripts that make this game run cannot handle new spawns being added. This game also has the issue of maps being constantly added and removed, which is blamed on every time I change something, something else breaks. This is a crazy statement, considering the game just has the basic fundamentals, if not less. Also, this is just a personal note, but I'm pretty sure I played Murder Mystery 1 with this guy before. Rise of the Undead is nostalgia bait, only it's the kind that tries to mimic the old ROBLOX style, without fully committing to it. This game has decent feeling weapons and the map design isn't even that bad, but the zombies AI is horrendous. It's like they're smart enough to cut you off when you're training, and also fall on your head and instantly kill you, but not smart enough to where you don't need to chase them down when you're outside a certain area. There's apparently a power switch and possibly an Easter egg, but I couldn't be fucked to play this game when it plays like this. This is the most developed, non-developed game in the list. You practically have every perk you would need, a zombie pathfinding system that just barely works, an in-house gun system that has all of the essential mechanics that are all still sloppy, and map design that can range from actually good to just awful. I think it's cool that Baseplate has an Easter egg, but I feel like I'm playing a puzzle game with zombies rather than an actual zombie game, because zombies are such an insignificant part of it, considering how non-threatening they are. I feel like I have to chase the zombies down rather than it being the other way around. And the underwater map isn't even bad, it's just I can't play it without getting softlocked in some way because of how this game is designed. Also, having to spend a whole minute of doing nothing before being allowed to play the game is not a fun experience. Think about how boring it is to wait for a game to load, and realize that's what this game does to you. I definitely think this game has potential and even some charm, but the scripting is what ruins it. We're moving on to F tier. F for flop. Represented by the map Navi Death, a map with way too many expensive and useless doors and no clear direction as to how to get anything done. These games aren't necessarily bad, but they're either severely lacking or developmentally challenged. I'm not sure why it happens, but at round 4 the rounds just stop progressing, and I want to assume it's like that because Roblox updates broke something over time. Other than that, it's just a generic CoD Zombies clone. Average visuals, average mechanics, average weapon selection, and it doesn't do anything to stand out. This is really a demonstration of the game's gunplay rather than the game as a whole. Not much thought was put into the map design, though I will say it looks decent. And the zombie designs aren't bad either, but the weapon selection is limited and there's hardly anything to do besides spin the box. This is a hard game to rank, because the visuals aren't bad, especially considering when this game was made, and the weapon mechanics aren't awful either, but the zombie AI was pretty sloppy and the weapon variety was extremely limited. I just can't rank it lower than it is, because everything, as far as I'm aware, was coded completely in-house. I also can't rank it any higher than it is, because it's another game where getting kills doesn't earn you points, and where the game takes place, but especially because of how many things to do there ended up being in this game. Very few. Are we noticing a trend here? A lot of these games take place in Nacht or some other Treyarch map and are underdeveloped either due to early burnout or not having been that old. A very limited selection of weapons and sloppy zombie AI and okay visuals is all I can say about this game. I don't even know where to start with this one. My biggest problem is the zombies. There is zero form of pathfinding, and I'll get to why this is so bad later on. There are a lot of maps, but absolutely none of them are original. It's like they took random remodels and just slapped wall pins and perks and sometimes debris into them and called them maps. The problem is, some of the maps they chose just do not flow well with the zombies not being able to traverse around an environment. And I can't give this game a pass for being on Retro Studio, when other games either have pathfinding, or design maps around the flaw that zombies don't have pathfinding. There's basically no progression when the game barely gets harder as the waves increase, and most wall opens are 250 to 500 points. Another issue is, some of these maps have some of the most uninteresting settings. I'm not talking about the ones ripped from Call of Robloxia, more so the maps taken from old Roblox games, such as Crossroads and Rocket Arena, so not even any of the good ones. And they're all their original selves with practically nothing changed. The worst part is, you can't even vote for what map you want to play. The game randomly chooses one for you. No, not only can you not vote what map you want to play, you can't even die to reset the map. You have to rejoin the game if you want to play a different map. Also, this is just a nitpick, but why is Speed Cola the perk that makes you run faster? Actually, I already know why. Because they couldn't be bothered to code an actual Speed Cola. Zeds shares most of its issues with the previous game. Crude weapons, no zombie pathfinding, and maps that are all free models, that at the very least aren't ripped from other games. And you're given the choice of what map you want to play. Also, dying is extremely hard to do given how fast you regenerate health. Listen, I don't think that the current Roblox gun system is bad. It just seems like every game that uses it is lacking in some way, and also that none of the games that use it ever tweak it to make it feel different. No pack-a-punch, no perks, the zombie AI fails to chase the player at some points, the obby design is average, the weapon balancing is nonsensical, and the boss fight just boils down to shooting it until it dies. And it takes like 10 seconds even with the worst guns.
I don't even know what I said, but I'm just saying, pretended I accidentally Alright, but like, we could do an All of Me on a Budget Part 2.
The music is especially terrible. It just sounds like whoever made the song just put random notes until they thought it sounded good. At the very least, it's not doom music, but I would genuinely prefer cheerful stock music over this. Any player could look at these flashy graphics and clean UI and hyper monetization and think this is something of value. But this game is only a few steps away from being free model slop. Queso Zombies is the best CoD Zombies clone in Roblox, is what I would have said if it were April Fools. By the way, there are some people that watched that whole video and didn't once think that it might have been a joke. Even though I think this game has some charm and I would like to see Queso play this game, it's not great. The weapon selection is mid at best, gameplay is sluggish, and the economy is awful. You basically can't get your first decent weapon until like 7 rounds in. The map is just a random assemblage of free models in a square. Again, a very limited selection of weapons and hardly any thought put into the map design. Though I will say this game was pretty rough on one player. Unfortunately, there's no footage of this game and hardly any footage of the developer's other projects, so I can't really give you an idea of how this game actually looked. It's not that hardly any thought was put into the map design, it's more so that they just don't work out with this kind of game. Especially when the zombies don't even chase you if you're too far away. The only form of progression is getting better guns, and the order at which you find better guns is completely random. There's no doors to unlock and only one perk, which of course is the easiest one to implement ever. I would like to start off by saying this game has a 100,000 point viable ending. Listen, if it were any easier to get points than it is with this Cold War-like point system, I'd still be criticizing it. Because in most cases, having a viable ending costs that much is just dragging the game out for way longer than it needs to be. But you only get 50 points every kill, not to mention how many points you have to spend to even get to the top. Aside from all that, the weapon selection is extremely limited, which is really bad for a game that uses ACS. But I like the zombie variety. I was way too harsh on this game last time. I still don't think it's a good game, but it certainly isn't second worst. At least everything here was made from the ground up, as far as I can tell. Doesn't mean it's not janky as hell. For some reason, the guns do this thing where they play a different shooting sound based on if you hit their head or not. The zombies don't seem to be all that smart either. The map looks like Town if the developer played it one time in 2012, and never again, and tried to recreate it from memory. Apparently the map is just Mauer Toten. I've never played the map, so I'm not going to talk about it. I see a lot of potential in this game, because the gameplay flow really isn't bad, but I don't like how quiet the game is. The zombies are dead silent. Nothing in this map makes noises, and the ambient sounds do not match the map's atmosphere at all. Some other things I don't like are how the zombies can still kill you after they're dead, and the game has weapon jamming with it using ACS and all. Wanna know what the interact button is? The same one used for leaning. That definitely doesn't get annoying. I'm sure a lot of you OGs and veterans have fond memories of playing this game. I do too. But let's not act like this game is good, because it's more of a demonstration of Roblox's capabilities in the game, and it certainly hasn't aged well. The hit detection was questionable at best, the movement was clunky, the only variance in gameplay is what weapons you get from the box. No perks, no pack-a-punch, no Easter egg. And sadly, this is a common theme for games in the tier. I'm only saying this now, because this is one of the first instances where a game's lack of features is what ruins it. And since I don't want to say the same exact thing for every game, I'm not going to bring it up at all. Add one to the counter. I actually like the idea of an Earth-themed zombies game. However, in this case, it's been executed poorly. The map design is decent, even if the map itself looks rather bland. But the point economy isn't great, as zombies don't get points on hit, and they don't have pathfinding, which wouldn't be so bad if some areas weren't 2 stories. There was also a 50,000 point door that I never got to buy because my game crashed on the way to buying it. If it had been possible to get points faster than I did, I would have been able to buy that door before crashing. I guess it's not like buying the door was worth it anyways. This is another hard one to rank, because a lot of this game's guns are broken, and the ones that aren't broken are trash. The only good way of getting points is by knifing. I suppose that applies to any game that gives knifing a bonus, but in this case, knifing is hardly more dangerous, and is pretty much just as efficient as shooting. The zombie AI isn't really impressive, and I feel like this version of Doris is twice as small as it should be. There's not much that could be said about Undead Assault, other than there's hardly anything to actually do. This seems to be another game with an in-house weapon system. It has the 4 core perks and a subpar variety of weapons that are all kinda trash. There's also a buildable buyable ending, but either I didn't wait long enough for it to trigger, because I couldn't get to work even after initiating it, or it just doesn't work sometimes. Also, there's no cap on how many zombies can be on the map at once, which causes them to act weirdly and forget about you. I do kinda like the idea of power needing to be activated by 4 switches, except for the fact turning on a switch takes like 20 seconds. But this idea really only works if the map is small and especially if the map is circular. Order 99 has almost everything I would want in a zombies game. Soul boxes, perks, pack-a-punch, and unrelenting gameplay. But pack-a-punching hardly makes the guns better, and soul boxes are what unlocks pack-a-punch. And the second worst usage of soul boxes behind making it activate power is making it activate pack-a-punch. That's just my opinion. But you can imagine pack-a-punching being essentially useless makes doing the soul boxes also useless. There's also 4 guns in total, and you're never picking up new guns, so it makes this game all the more repetitive and less replayable. The old video is all misinformation. This game got reopened after that video was released, and that's when I remembered how much more this game has to offer than what I described. Which isn't much. I will say this game definitely committed to the old Roblox style. It plays like an old Roblox game too. That's not a compliment. All the guns are semi-automatic. Zombies don't give points per hit, rather they give more points based on what level they are. Which, yes, this game has multiple zombie types, and that's pretty cool. This game's biggest flaw is how slow the rounds go by. You'll be playing this game for an hour or two, and the majority of that is spent on the early rounds. And actually, this is one of the first clones on Roblox with a viable ending. A door for 30,000 points. Yes, a game from 2018 was the first game to have this. The first viable ending, as far as I know, came from a 2009 custom map. It really took 9 years for a viable ending to be in a Roblox game. This game is definitely better than it was a few months ago, but that doesn't mean it's much better. The zombies are move toers, the gun scripts are extremely basic, and the other map that is original is a 2-barrier 1-room map. The mystery box gives you weapons you already have, and this recreation of Knocked is really flat. I will give them some credit for making their own music, even if some of it is just covers of other video game songs. This is obviously based on Star Battle's games. For some reason, the developer credits Jared Valdez as inspiration. I know some people don't know who Jared Valdez is, so I'll explain. He was a notorious game stealer. But anyways, it only makes sense the developer would credit a game stealer rather than the original game creator, because this game feels like a Chinese knockoff of Star Battle's games. The hit detection is somehow more whack, and the upgraded weapons just get a name color change. Very rarely will the weapon be noticeably improved. It does get slightly better when you get to the classic map because that one has perk machines, but there's an issue where zombies can get stuck in the chimney. This doesn't sound like much of an issue until you spend several minutes trying to find it without knowing it's there. Honestly, the worst part about this map is that it takes place in Happy Home. Why are people choosing the lame maps? What happened to the actually interesting maps like Yorick's Resting Place or Haunted House? Rise of the Undead 2 is a masterclass on how to make a game as unfun as possible. You know how much I love trying to build up enough points to get out of the starting room with a gun for 20 minutes? And then suddenly when I get out of the spawn room, I'm met with a barrage of zombies that not only match my speed, but also practically insta-kill me? This game looks and feels decent, but I can't be bothered to try to make progress in this game when it plays like this. That's why I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt and putting it near the end of F tier. An ACS based game with 13 total weapons. That's sad. Unfortunately, it doesn't get much better when you bring Pack Punch into the mix. All it does is just slap a red skin on guns and give them slightly more ammo and damage. Listen, I understand there was a point in time where pack-a-punching your weapons only slightly made them better, but that time was 2009. So what business does a Roblox game have making pack-a-punching weapons so disappointing? At least the map design is somewhat interesting, is what I would say if they didn't just leave an entire section accessible but completely naked. I mean, in their defense, if it wasn't accessible, this game would be basically impossible given how weak the guns are and how little room there is to train. but they could have at least tried to cover up how unfinished this map is. Shitty bitch. Secluded is a game that came out immediately after it made the old tier list. I thought the idea of leveling up giving you stat boosts to random weapons was cool, and it has a pretty good selection of maps, but good lord does it have the worst mechanics. If you want to pack a punch, you have to stand there holding the interact key for 20 seconds. So you basically have to end a round and hope that the newly spawning zombies don't kill you before then. And what happens when you run out of ammo? You can buy more. But good luck trying to when it also takes 10 seconds to refill ammo, which gives the zombies enough time to kill you. And don't even think about meleeing them, because the developers didn't think about that either. Also, I think logging maps behind getting to a high round on the previous map is so lame. Like if they were instead locked behind Easter eggs that you had to complete with previous maps, maybe I wouldn't mind, but trying to go for high rounds in a game as repetitive as this is just not worth it. This game chose quite possibly one of the worst gun systems you could ever use for your games. Automatic weapons like to do this thing where the bullets don't go based on your cursor's position. Rather they go to where your cursor was when you first held the mouse down. It's not to mention how slow these guns are to respawn, and also how weak they are. Seriously, try pack-a-punching literally anything besides the ray gun. They're all useless. Oh, wait until you see the zombies. This also happens to be one of the worst zombie models you can find. They use a pathfinding system that is really slow, and sometimes doesn't even work properly. The perks are also basic stat increases because the developer couldn't bother getting speed cola or double tap to work. This stuff really isn't that hard to do. Do you like seeing? Well, too bad, because for the first 5 rounds, your only way of seeing is with night vision, and for every round past 10, the lights will shut on and off, and the amount of lights that will shut off will increase as the rounds go on. And it gets worse. There's a boss fight. How do you unlock it? Wait until round 20 of course. How do you kill this boss? Oh, just run away and shoot until it dies. Such intuitive design, I know. It almost feels like it's intentional how sloppy this game is. I wouldn't know because I made this game. I pretty much made it to make fun of games that somehow make the worst design choices possible. The sad part is, I think I could do worse if I just took the worst aspect of every clone and put it into one game. It is time for D tier. D for decent. Represented by the map Project X. A handsome map that doesn't necessarily do anything wrong, but it doesn't excel at anything either. These games are not bad by any means, they're just missing things that would make playing them worthwhile. The map design is actually good. I genuinely felt like I was playing a traditional custom map from World at War. The problem is the zombie AI and gunplay are not good. The game uses Turbo Fusion gun kit and Move 2 zombies, but I'm giving this game the benefit of the doubt since it is broken and old. I ranked this higher on my old tier list because I was hoping something would be done with this prototype. Here we are, 1 year later and nothing's changed. It's still this box with all the perks and 2 wall guns at the ready. I would have put it in F tier if it weren't for so many perks and decent visuals. What you're seeing right now is the game before it got downgraded into having 3 guns. And that's what I'm basing this ranking off of because that's when I played it. Apart from that, it was a fine game. Good map design, decent visuals. Yeah. Unlike another game we're going to be talking about later, the survival mode was clearly an afterthought. Your only form of permanent perks are through cards, which are completely random and hardly boost your stats at all. There are perks, but they give you a temporary boost. And I think the worst part is that there is no way to get new guns in this mode. You're stuck with what you spawn with. This is just a disappointing side mode in a well-made game. I'm sure this game is probably somewhat fun in the later rounds, but I'm not even going to waste time getting to them when the round interventions take 45 seconds. What are you supposed to do for 45 seconds when the game has barely anything to do? I mean, you open crates, you open iron crates, you explore the maps, which most of them are free models by the way, and you buy perks that are temporary. You know what I hate more than when games don't have perks? When games have perks, but they're temporary. And also, Speed Cola doesn't give you faster reloading, it makes you run faster. If only there was an official CoD Zombies perk that does this. Double tap doesn't even make you shoot faster. I don't even know what it does. I don't know where these 19 lives came from, and this used to be 19 likes to 1 dislike when I found it, but it certainly isn't because of the gameplay. There's no real connection between this game and Brain Rot, but I do respect that it does somewhat try to introduce new mechanics, even if it is based on one of the most overrated zombie games of all time. I said this game's so boring, Jesus Christ. This game is so boring with how easy and slow it is. I played for at least 20 to 30 minutes and the fastest the zombies ever spawned was once every 2 seconds. In other words, this game is in constant slow mode. Also, the drag and drop mechanic and pack punch do not mix well. I actually lost one of my weapons to the pack punch because it just wouldn't work. All pack punching does is just double your damage and magazine size anyways. Just an old ROBLOX themed game with user-generated meshed weapons. Yeah, no offense, but this is where you step out of retro territory. Another old ROBLOX themed zombie game with nothing special. But I do respect that this game uses C-framed animations. I understand this game was supposed to be really crazy for its time, but let's be honest. People outside of the ROBLOX community weren't impressed by this. It's just knocked with clunkier shooting and movement mechanics. At least it was there for people who couldn't afford the real games. Let's not forget that this game pretty much popularized custom maps on Roblox. It's knocked their own totem with Black Ops 3 weapons and hyper-realistic graphics. At least for 2017 standards. No, this is not the era zombies you're thinking of. It's really just a nicer feeling version of Star Battle's game, taking advantage of dynamic lighting and using 3D models for its weapons. Also, there's a Zombie Apocalypse remake that's not finished. It's Star Battle's knocked their own totem with FE gun kit. And perks. The only thing that sets this apart from the other Zombie Tower games is the obby design, which doesn't really mean much. It was supposed to be a modernized version of Julie Cat's Zombie Apocalypse that never got finished. The game ended with a limited variety of weapons, but a lot of perks, and zombie models were based on real players. I think the idea of procedurally generated rooms is a cool idea, but with this game having no perks or way to upgrade weapons, it doesn't really help make the game not feel repetitive. Being able to craft weapons is really just a gimmick, considering it's literally easier to buy them. This might have been a good game if the zombies had pathfinding. You're telling me they managed to recreate Origins and Mob of the Dead, but they couldn't be bothered to make a zombie AI? Everything else about this game is okay, apart from the awful gun scripts. I don't know what it is, but I just do not like playing this game. Whether it's due to the horrendous perk system, or the awkward gunplay, or the early rounds being way too slow, or the fact there's no progression system to remedy a game being as boring as this. It's just CoD zombies except players have special abilities, and you pretty much have to rely on good box RNG to have any fun, considering how garbage most of the guns are, which is not fun. It's a cool concept, but in this case it was executed pretty poorly. The problem with this game is you're pretty much always far away from the zombies, so there's no real danger. There's also a red light, green light section which just ruins the flow of the game. Seriously, if it weren't for this, I'd probably consider playing this game again. I would like to point out this game used to be just called Zombie Tower. It's easy to imagine with there being a much more influential game of the same name, why calling it that would cause issues. I think this game does mesh the zombie and parkour aspects together pretty well actually. Missing a jump can actually put you in danger instead of just teleporting you back and taking some of your health like in the other game. Also, keep in mind, this game and the previous one uses the same mechanics as Brain Rot Zombies without the perks. The same mechanics that made that game lackluster, so these ones are too. The boss fight is especially disappointing. You just get enough points to summon it and shoot it until it dies. Basically the same game as the previous one, just running on the engine that powers Zombie Mayhem. Essentially allowing for more zombie types, so just a marginally better version of the previous game. The menu makes it look like you're getting a lot more than what this game has to offer. There are 3 different modes, but 2 of them are fake. There are 3 icons on the world map, but they all lead to the same selection of 4 maps, of which only 1 works. And then the one that does work is Farm with 1 extra room. When you play the game, you'll see it's another ACS game with a very small amount of weapons. Only this time it's especially bad because of the game's like 10 weapons, 3 of them are useless, which makes hitting the box a huge risk. Seriously, my first 6-7 times I've ever hit the box was all garbage weapons. Get this, there's 3 perks, but one of them is fake. Juggernog, Stamina Up, and Double Tap. Can you guess which? Of course it's Double Tap. There's one thing these low quality games seem to have in common, and it's that on the off chance they do have perks, it's always the same two that are the easiest to implement, because they couldn't bother figuring out how to get speed cola or double tap to work. Again, this stuff is not that hard. And I would like to point out that this game has a fake Origins map. It's in the only icon that doesn't take you to the transit map selection, and when you try to play it, it just teleports you back to the main game. I think you can understand that they didn't actually make Origins. I mean, did you really think that these developers would put in that much effort? At least Michael Zombies made a map, even if he was making fun of people who think Roblox needs another Origins, after what happened with Zombie Universe at least. Ironically, it ended up being that game's best map. The weapon selection is decent, and I really like the Halloween event, but this game is extremely boring in the early rounds. Especially since round 1 takes like 3 minutes to pass. The game used to do a thing where you got 10 points for shooting zombies and 10 points for killing zombies, but now you only get points for killing them. Remember when I criticized Corrupt Zombies for using the Cold War point system, so they changed it to the traditional point system? By the way, thank you. Well, now this game did the complete opposite. I get they're trying to be removed from CoD Zombies, but when your zombie wave survival game has debris, wall weapons, a mystery box, and upgraded variants, I don't see a point in doing that. Also, they brought back the Halloween map, but didn't bring back the Halloween zombies, which were part of what made the map so good. You know how excited I was when a zombie mode for Phantom Forces was remembered in 2015? A game which utilizes the most cutting edge technology possible, endless combinations of attachments, and advanced movement. I had already thought Zombies Test was one of the coolest games ever for its weapon customization mechanics. So the same thing with Phantom Forces mechanics sounded like the coolest thing ever. Fast forward to 2025, I'm now 19 years old and this game is about what I expected. It's just CoD Zombies on the dated Phantom Forces engine. No pack-a-punch, no cool Easter eggs. Oh yeah, and how can we make use of our attachment system? Well, let's just make it so that it's up to RNG what attachments or bugs you get. I actually planned on making a video about this game when it came out, but there are two reasons why I didn't. The smaller one being this is just a boring game overall, and the bigger one being that developers are pedophile apologists. Another game with good map design and not so great gunplay. Because guess what? It's another game that uses Turbo Fusion Gun Kit.
What did you do, you idiot? You idiot!
I genuinely think this engine is better than Star Battles. Sure, it uses the same PNG weapon style, but the movement and gunplay feels a lot less clunky. A top-down shooter inspired by the SAS Zombie Assault series. This one doesn't feature a pack-punch system. You upgrade your weapons by picking them up as drops. I can't really think of any upsides for this gimmick. There's a weapon that's a literal explosive barrel. And a skin system.
Oh, hell yeah.
A game that uses the hex better for its gun scripts. The maps are pretty much just simplified versions of their World of War counterparts, which is still better than just copying the map straight up. A game where zombies don't get stronger, but stronger types of zombies will appear with increasing waves. It uses the Cold War point system. Doors are unlocked via completing waves instead of being bought, and there are no perks, but there is a body armor item which increases your health. There's not really any good weapons either. Considering the box was removed from when it was last opened in 2023, it makes this already difficult game pretty much impossible. This is a fixed version of Lethal Zittiman's old game, with perks, more guns, and more maps included. Unfortunately, the issues, like the trash hit detection and glitchy zombie AI, are still present in this game. I've decided to omit the original Contrant from this tier list because I didn't play that mode for long enough to have a valid opinion on it. And also because I still haven't found footage of it. But seeing as this game's development ended with 4 weapons, 2 perks, and no way to upgrade weapons, it's probably fair to say that it couldn't have been that amazing. The map maker absolutely carried this game. This still looks good by today's standards, especially considering the maps we have nowadays. Even for being as old as it is, this game still feels good to play. Apart from the fact the way the game handles points broke somewhere along the way. There is technically a way to upgrade guns, and that's by picking up ammo mods like fire, explosive, or shock. You know how good it felt to put on explosive rounds for my pistol as a kid?
It made me feel strong.
Zombie Zone was the first game on this list to have a mastery camo system. 250 kills for silver, 750 kills for gold. There's no pack-a-punch or perk system, but you can upgrade your stats with coins that occasionally drop. Even for not having been updated past filtering enabled, it still works surprisingly well. Problem is, this is an extremely repetitive game that's only saved by its mastery camo system. Pretty much suffers from the same issues as Nectar and Totem, apart from having perks and Hellhounds, and a one-off. This game never got the clunky movement system that Nectar and Totem and Shinonuma got. Well, actually, it didn't get any of the treatment that both those games got. Still, I thought this was the most fun of the 4 games. A fun game with a respectable weapon selection. Just not a fan of how the extra speed is a temporary perk. Especially when there were zombies that outrun you, in a game where bullets don't work against zombies that are too close to you. There's also the issue of the game straight up deleting your weapons when you run out of ammo. It's not a problem until you add another player into the mix, because it doesn't just delete your weapon, it deletes the other player's weapon, even if their gun isn't out of ammo. This is where part 1 ends. Stay tuned for part 2.